As you now know how the function is implemented, that is, function declaration, defining the function, and calling the function, let's try to understand a more practical way of using functions. For example, I want to create a function named sum in which you can pass two numbers and it should display the sum. When I say pass, it means you actually pass some information to the function. The information you pass to the function is called function arguments. So if I want to have a function sum which can take two arguments, both of integer type, then I will declare the function with the following syntax. I'll say void sum, and inside the parentheses I will write int comma int. So there are two integers passed. So here the function's name is sum. This void represents that this function will not return anything, and inside these parentheses shows that you can pass two values to the function and each of integer type. Assume if we want a function to take three integer values, then the declaration will be void sum and inside parentheses int comma int comma int. So if I have a function which takes a total 4 arguments, first as a character, second as double, third as float, and the fourth argument as an integer, and let's say the function name is calculate, then the declaration of it will be void calculate and inside the parentheses char, double, float, int. I hope you get the idea now. Let's jump into a practical example. I will say void sum int comma int because I want that this function should take two arguments of integer type. Now let me define the sum function outside this main function. I will say void sum int a comma int b. Now here we are actually specifying the variables in which the function receives the value. Now we just need to show the sum, so I will say cout a plus b. Now we just need to call the function, and let me call it 3 times with different arguments passed to it. I will say 2, 3, then in the next one I will write 7 and 1, and the third time I will pass 90 and 34 as arguments. Now let's run the code. And you see that it displays 3 different outputs for the 3 times the function was called with different values passed to it. So here if you observe the code, when the sum function is called, the values 2 and 3 are passed to a and b respectively. In the next call, because we are passing different values, it will perform an operation on those newly passed values, and that's how a function works. There are two terms often used with functions when you pass values, and those are function arguments and function parameters. Here when you are passing these values, you say that you are passing arguments. And here at the function's definition, you can say you receive the parameters. So you can consider parameters as empty containers in which the arguments are received. Though you don't have to worry much about these terms, at the same time there is no harm in knowing the concept well either.